welcome back. It's been quite a while, I guess. Yeah, for today's plan, it's image of a week number 3, and it's gonna be a black and white image, as promised. And I guess we will just jump straight into Photoshop and look at the image. And I gotta keep the time in mind because the goal is to not surpass anymore the 10 minutes discussing about one image because 20 minutes is, I reckon, it's quite long. So let's try to make it nice, short, and short. Let's go. So here we are in Photoshop with the third black and white image as promised. And let's just start with the usual, I would say. So this image was taken in Strasbourg in like 1 or 2 years ago during the summertime. And it was taken around noon. There was some, as you can see, some really harsh sunlight. But it's nice because you can totally use it to your advantage and get some really nice contrasty images with deep blacks and bright whites. Well, they are mostly deep blacks and not so bright whites, but you got deep blacks and it's enough to play around with it. And yeah, so basically how this image was taken is where it was in sort of small alley. And I notice, as you can see, the shadow on the left. And I did like quite a lot this wall, which graffitis and not in its best conditions, but it's nice, it has character, as someone might say it. And yeah, so I was waiting for the right person to come by, and I actually took a bunch of pictures, which turned out not so bad. And this one, I wouldn't say it's not one of my favorites, but it's a good one. And it's quite an iconic pose too, with the subject's pose, as you can see here, holding its smartphone in the hand and just walking straight into the shadow. And yeah, so that's it for how I did take this image basically. But when we are looking on the other side of things, like what is everything going on in the image, we can start off on the left. So I marked it in blue. You have this big amount of negative space, basically taking in around 1/3 of the image. And some people would argue, ooh, like you clip the blacks and all of that. But on the one side, it's intentionally, and on the other side, I don't really care if I clip the blacks. So be it. So you have this negative space, and yeah, when we look towards the right, so this time we will start from left to right, if you didn't have noticed already. I marked it in green, these graffitis on the back of the wall. There's nothing special about them. I don't even know what we are saying, but it just adds a little bit of character and roughness to this back wall. Creating bit by bit a little bit of a story, and making more interesting the image. It's all about that. The main thing is the subject. So it's basically with the front foot, it's already in the shadow. The back foot, it's really on the line from the shadow. And I also marked it, he has, or I don't know who it is, but this person has like a white shoe or white shoes. And you can kind of see right there that you can see a little bit of white shoe. For my opinion, I would have totally preferred if it would just be like a black shoe and not able to see white. And I could also have like photoshopped it black, but I decided not to and leave it as natural as possible. Even though I push quite hard with blacks, so yeah. And yeah, so it's a little bit a distraction from my mind, and I don't really like it that you can see like the white parts of his shoe, but I gotta live with it. But what I really like, as already mentioned, the subject pose holding the phone in its hand and like looking at the phone and just walking and the other hand just hanging off. And it's great, and it's easily recognizable to see what is going on in the scene. It's a person walking, looking on the phone, walking into a shadow, somewhere in a street on a bright, harsh, warm summer day. I mean, even though it's a black and white image, at least for my mind, I can tell, even though I know it too, that it was taken on a summer day. You can just see it basically on the contrast which you're getting, that it was taken during the summer, during a bright ass day. And yeah, I also marked this yellow line. So the yellow line serves as a reference, which basically means the yellow line would be the perfect horizon line. And as you can see, I somehow fucked it up and don't have like exactly straight line, and I tried to fix it in Lightroom. I'm not so sure anymore, but I think so. And yeah, that's a second thing which kind of bothers me. It's not destroying the image by not having like perfectly horizontal lines in the background, but for my taste, have everything nice and clean would have helped it. And for me, not having like straight horizon lines, it also adds up as a kind of distraction, because your eyes see it immediately that it's not straight or not horizontal. And so your eye is gravitating towards it and doesn't look at the subject as much, and that's not my intention at least. And yeah, so that's a little bit a negative aspect, I would say, of this image. And yeah, when we are looking about the composition, it's quite a simple and easy composition to do because I marked it here. I left 2/3 of the image towards the walking direction, and there are two different reasons for it. First of all, the subject is walking in this direction, so it's natural to leave more space in this direction, but you can also frame it otherwise. Sometimes it works quite well as well. And another thing is, by putting like 2/3 of the image to the left in this walking direction, I also put an emphasis on this negative space, which, plays with it, and it's quite enjoyable. And otherwise, like, yeah, I gave the image itself quite a lot of headroom, as you might see. And just because, you have this big negative space on the left, but also if you ignore all my writing on the image, you have somewhat of a big amount of negative space as well behind the subject. This wall, you have some graffiti and like some little thingies going on, but there's not much there, so it's kind of a negative space as well, and it balances out. It's all about balance. And yeah, that's basically it. I really tried to make it short, and I hope you can still understand what I'm saying. And to summarize it, looking back, there are a couple of different things which I would have done otherwise. So basically trying to get a nice horizon level, that's the one thing. Waiting for more persons to come by, and especially the thing with the white shoe is really bothering me. So I'm not so happy about that. But on the other side, there are 2 or 3 things which worked out well to summarize too. First of all, the negative space with the deep blacks is great. The subject posing is excellent, I would say. And I'm really liking the texture and the base, even though it's a black and white image, the tonality of the black and white image on this background wall, it really adds something to it, which is quite nice and really enjoyable. And And yeah, not to forget, please like and subscribe. It does always help out this channel, and I'm happy about it, so make me happy. I would appreciate it. And until next time, I don't know what it's coming next. Maybe I will be able to put out a video about Hanover street photography, or it will just be another image of a week number 4.